live.
Now we don't have free speech, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
All right, we're
absolutely we
live.
do. I'll drop a couple just to prove it if you want, but I know that'll trigger.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm watching this show right now on Netflix, and it's going live with David Chang.
Yeah.
It's an awesome cooking show. He does it every Tuesday, and at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when it starts. And he has two of his friends as guests, and then he's on the other side cooking, and each week is a different meal. But they have a limit on how many F-bombs you can drop. Or,
Really?
I mean, literally Netflix, and to be rated the way you want to be rated, I mean, you have to abide by the guidelines.
Makes
It
sense.
is I wouldn't call it a family show, just because the content sometimes gets a little bit crazy. Probably more like PG-13. Um, in that, but I mean,
Yes,
most
Deanna, a little dicey.
most kids
Chop it up.
that even in grade school where I'm at, they've probably seen plenty. I know most of these kids have they may not have seen a rated R, but they've definitely have experienced rated R, and so they can, their language and whatnot gives it away a little bit. But yeah, because this can get a little. It's really good though. The conversations are really good. If you want to learn about food, and just because David Chang is all about, um, he's almost like a people's chef. He's trying to do it easy so you can learn a little bit and do it yourself.
Mhm.
Um, he doesn't go out and get all the, most expensive ingredients and all this stuff. I mean, they talk about Costco quite a bit, actually. Go to Costco, get there, and all kinds of fun conversations. So I mean, for me, I'd recommend the show. And it's an hour long, and it's live, and then you can watch it, you know, they put it on, for the rest of the week. So, but it's
Gotcha.
really good. Anyways,
I
that's
haven't been
a
on
plug
Netflix.
for that show.
I haven't been
Cooking
on
shows.
Netflix in a long time. I mean, we
Yeah.
used to watch that all the time. Be on that. I think because of Amazon, we go over to Prime. That's our,
We have Prime too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
it's what our kids
Yep.
are paying, and we're paying for Netflix. They're paying for Prime.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then there's like a bunch of, because we have a
Right.
Roku
Same here.
TV, so then we get all that.
Tubi. Ever
Yeah,
do Tubi?
Tubi. Yes.
that Tubi. Yeah. So
Do you guys think ratings will last culturally?
Ratings?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
yeah,
think there's always going to be ratings. Just who's controlling the ratings will probably change and how
yeah.
they measure them.
Yeah, I don't. It surprises me that our culture still uh, counts the number of f bombs.
Why? I think it's great that they do that
It's just the culture's position,
on everything else.
how they
Don't
weight
care culture.
that language.
I know.
Uh,
Right.
it's surprising to
Well,
me
I
that it's
think,
still a thing.
I think there are other, like my wife, she goes to, I forget the name of the site she goes to. Well, actually, I think it's IMDb actually has a parental guide section for all their movies. So now you can go and
Yeah.
read, and they'll actually list out all the different. So
Yeah.
we don't know about a movie, she'll go and look it up, and then they'll tell, there's a little bit of skin showing here, a few. F-bombs there, and so she gets an idea from just them. And I think there's other platforms like that
Common Sense Media.
even those a rating, it might be a PG-13 rating, but because of this stuff, maybe you won't watch it. Or
Yep.
maybe it's rated R, but really isn't that big of a deal,
Yeah.
And so it's not so much the ratings anymore as much as she's looking at, what these reviewers are saying. And there's a lot of other, I think, parental guide sites out there that
Yep.
it makes it easier for if you want to, if you want
Yeah.
you want to steward your kids in a healthy way,
Or if you don't want to screen
to
the movie
check it out.
first, like I don't feel
Right.
like watching it
Right.
first and then having to watch it again.
Right.
And I
I
found
want
one
to clear my
site
own
that
gates again.
even has kids say, "Yeah, this is PG-13, but it's not too scary," or "Hey, this is PG, but it's scary, and I don't like it." And so you can get a kid's perspective. So, ratings were to protect young eyes. It doesn't seem like it was. It's really for much else. At least that's the use we've gotten out of it. But like that's still needed. Like you can have community ratings. Like, hey, I'm in this
Right.
community. But I seen this movie. What do you think of it? What am I going to be presenting to my kids that they can't unsee? What conversations is this going to bring up that I don't want to have right now?
Right.
And or that I do. Like, hey, great. All right, now I know this. Let's rock it and let's talk about it and be healthy and intentional.
That's a hard job. We're realizing it's a hard job to be the gatekeepers,
Yeah.
um,
It's exhausting.
in the freedom to allow them to explore and to get their voice and to be who they're supposed to be. There is a responsibility to not just open the floodgates and let everything in and let them sort it out, because they don't have the tool set, emotional, mental tool set, to
Yeah.
to manage the chaos and say this is good for me, that's not good for me. And so we're constantly dialing it. We're always dialing in, dialing it out,
Yeah.
pulling it back, giving a little room and to stretch your legs. Oh, they mess it up, pull it back in. And it's a challenge. There's a balance, and it's a lifelong experience. I wouldn't say lifelong, but it's several decades of growing through that with them. And as your relationship changes with them as they mature, then you've got to dial it back even more so, and eventually say, hey, here's the keys to your kingdom. Here's the keys to your house completely. We're now not in charge. You get to
Right.
manage your own gates. And
The goal is
that's
self-regulation, not
yeah.
having a sterile environment.
And that's exactly right. We're training them to be self-governors.
Yeah.
This probably isn't a good thing to allow into your gates, guys. You probably should think about, working on that. So
And it's not real life. It's somebody
Yeah.
else's narrative. It's somebody else's parable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but your brain and everything processes as your story. This is
So you're
why
going to internalize
really-
somebody else's parable.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Right.
video games same way.
Mm-hmm.
We think it's just video games and we're playing and oh, this isn't reality, but your brain and the way that we process does not process that way. That's why trauma in kids and actually in gamers are so high, is because their bodies are reacting. Even though we're playing and it's adrenaline and we're having a good time, your body's acting like it's at war. Your body
Well,
is,
like in a battle royale game, like
if that's the
first
game.
person.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Fortnite,
Yeah.
and,
So
and Modern Warfare, things like that. Like you feel,
Yeah.
in other words, they're feeling the same. Are you saying they're feeling the same stressors or experiences as if they were being chased by someone with intent to harm?
yeah, that's why, I mean, kids do have PTSD. Kids do have,
They do.
it's not just adults that get it that actually, come back or what a traumatic experience is. It's your body reacts. Like, so use a live example. So I was talking to my mom the other day. My mom just had a mini stroke about a month ago. And so she's been doing all these tests and everything to just make sure everything's okay. Well, her doctor that she's been going to So my mom is a sunny side up person. Very gets up on the right side of the bed, cheery, everything is sunny side up, you know.
Yeah.
And but her body is reacting to things that aren't. So she may be sunny side up and speaking all this, but subconsciously her mind. So they just moved to San Diego area. My parents are 70 plus years old, and so the traffic and whatnot is one of the big things that stress my mom out. They don't like, but they have to do it. But those every day they have to go somewhere in that, even though they've spoke, and whatnot. So they keep wondering why, my mom's blood pressure's higher than the norm, because it's like what we've been talking about, on a pretty much daily as a group is speaking life and speaking into your circumstances and whatnot. But subconsciously, like we've been chatting about lately, is your body still reacting. And so, how do you process all that? So, we think that we've got it all together, but our body is physically taking it into the cells and whatever, and our heart's reacting. And if we're not aware, we just let it, we just let things happen. And I think that's why we have so many, especially kids right now in the school systems that are dealing with a lot of the stressors. They come from great homes, a lot of them, great homes, but why are they, like this? Well, for one thing, their diet is very important. Most kids don't eat well, um, and but also most kids are either on their phones when they're not at school or playing video games. That's what I ask. What did you guys do this weekend? It's either them going over to their friend's house for a sleepover, but they're always playing video games. That's the thing. We went over and we played video games, and the virtual reality, is
Uh-huh.
such a big deal to theyese kids, and that's they're all doing, but their whole bodies and everything are totally engaged in that. So
Right.
it's
Immersive.
it's fun, but
It
it's
is.
also I mean it's affecting people's psyches, and so
That's what I
that's
mean.
something
We
that
just watched that. You
yeah.
mentioned VR, and I was just thinking about because we just watched Ready Player One again, which I think if we actually bought it, because we love it as a family, such a it's a
Great
good
book.
good movie of showing kind of the exaggerations of the world as it relates to becoming so immersed in a virtual reality.
Yep.
Like scenes where guys they've lost all of their coin, all of their stuff. They've zeroed out, and then it switches the real world. The dude throws his VR headset up and jumps on the the desk, and then runs across to the
Yes.
window, opens it, ready to jump out. A Skyriser. And like, people are so immersed into that reality that for them to lose a game is like losing the world, and they commit suicide concept. And but that is, in a sense it's humorous, but it does shine a little bit of light on that, that trauma of technology, of immersing so much so that it becomes a part of you and isn't something you can separate out, to the point if something happens there, it affects you emotionally, physically here. And that is, again, humorous, but at the same time kind of a sad statement of the idea of becoming so engrossed in your iPhones and the technology that your relational dynamics get so impacted when those things fail
Yeah.
or mess up. And it shows immaturity, right? Relational immaturity, stunted growth in relational dynamics because of those little triggers, you know. And then a lot of kids grow up that way because the parents are doing the same thing to some degree. It's definitely learned.
We used to get grounded we do something. Oh, you're grounded from, from your bike. You're grounded from, so okay, grounded from my bike, but we're still outside being able to play and be creative and all that. Nowadays it's grounded from your phone and your games, and they don't know what to do. What do I do? They have no clue. Most of these kids don't know
I'm
what to do
so
with themselves.
bored. Yeah.
Like, oh, I hear that so much. I'm like, that's your choice. You made that choice. Let's
They
find
know, but
some.
it's funny because I have that dialogue with them. Like when they come off it, there's this stupidity that comes over it. And I'm not being rude to my kids, but there's this like dumbing down internally that exists. Like their creativity. If there was a place in the brain, I mean there is, but if you cartoon, you think of a cartoon, you can look inside their brain and you see when they're on gaming, it's like this thing shrinks and shrivels up. Like the creative part of their brain just shrivels up. And then as soon as you come off it, it's like coming off for 30 minutes. It's like I can't be creative. I don't, it's like, I don't know, what is that? And then finally it starts to come back alive again, but it's like they don't have the ability to be creative. Even if you put a pencil and paper in front of them right after playing games, they're like, what is this? I don't know what to do with myself. Um, which is why it's important to just, again, as a parent responsible for the gates of my children, say, hey, we're cutting this off for, the next 48 hours. You got you got to start working out this other part of your brains and get your eyes out of the screens, and Jess is pretty good about managing that and putting gates and uh, so that they get a balance. It's nice, but get outside, start working the creative. Like we're just some nights we just like we're not doing anything but creative stuff, right? So don't even bother asking about the iPad or movies or anything like that because we're just gonna focus on Legos, Play-Doh, the things that will get your creative juices going. Because I think it's very much connected to the spiritual realm. That when your creative capability is diminished, I think it also diminishes your connectivity to being able to see in the spirit, hear in the spirit, to activate those spiritual gateways. Because the imagination is one of the gateways to access your ability to connect to the spirit. And so when that's diminished and shriveled up, it's like you go deaf, you go blind to that atmosphere. And I wouldn't put it past certain malevolent beings out there in the physical space and physical realm to intentionally cause those things to happen. Because when you shrivel up creativity, you shrivel up this ability to self-regulate, self-govern, and more susceptible to handing that over to somebody else to do that for you. And for certain groups out there, that's exactly what they would prefer. Be able to program and manage the programming so that you can be subservient to their designs and plans for human and human culture and history, moving forward. So it's kind of a mixed bag. It's a great tech to have the technology, but it can be the sword to die on too if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And what role does intent play when engaging things? Because the media form itself, is it all powerful? Is it like, hey, whether you like it or not, there's nothing you can do about it. You engage with this, you're affected. PTSD on you. Your body's going to feel this, and you have no choice. It doesn't seem consistent. I mean, it's expecting a lot from a child who's learning their voice, learning the power of their own intent, learning their own boundaries, to put them in an arena where they're not equipped. That's not the point I'm making. But what role does our intent play? Deanna said it Lenny Masters explained that if she starts engaging with a show, movie, or book, etc., that she starts having tears well up. She tells her soul and body that it's not happening to you or to anyone you know, and we are not making it happen to anyone else. And she said she started using this, it makes a difference for me. So, you know, without awareness, you're letting another narrative affect you.
Yeah.
And kid, I don't know, is that's doesn't seem to be something kids have naturally. I mean,
No.
an awareness.
A child, like a baby, doesn't wake up and discern the difference,
Right.
right? They don't know what's real or what's fake. They just know what's playing out in front of them. Um, I think there's a message too that regardless of what's coming in, if we just treat all things external, our eyes, ears, and it's all information, regardless of whether it's on the TV or in living color in person, it's information. Our eyes don't make the difference. Oh, it's coming from a TV from make believe, or it's coming from somebody in front of me that's speaking in just scientific, chemical, electricity information. It's all the same coming into our eyes, into ears. It's how we manage all of it coming through, even from the TV. I mean, think about stories have been around for since man has been talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua used parables, used stories to entertain and to tell a story and to get people. I mean, he told stories to get their attention. Stories
Yeah.
are for getting attention and
To answer their questions.
giving information that's going to benefit, right? So a movie that's playing is going to give is a storytelling mode and an outlet. And now how I use that with that story, how it impacts me is up to me, right? Because I get emotional, I get teared up. There are things I'm like, oh, I feel the father hurt in this, even though they didn't intend it. I see the shadows of him speaking. And maybe they didn't mean to do it, but because of the dynamics, what's going on between my father, I see that and say that reinforces this dynamic. And I'm gonna take that on board. I'm gonna receive that. Give me a moment to turn into my father and say, wow, I didn't see you before in this before. And now I do. And let's learn something from that. Because it's again, just the gates of my eyes and my ears. What am I allowing to come through? And what am I doing with it when it comes through? And our kids don't know that. I mean, our kids, this is what we're talking about, training our kids how to manage, self-regulate the chaos, the unknown, the mystery that comes into their gate, and how to take it in and assimilate it, and to throw out the junk and keep the good, right? Eat the meat, throw out the bones. Although my wife keeps the bones and makes more great stuff from it, right? But the idea is that they don't have those skills innately. And part of parenting is telling them, okay, I'm gonna be your gatekeeper, but we're gonna do this together so that you understand what is a healthy way of managing the chaos. Because I can't forever be with you to manage your gateways, nor am I intended. That's not my forever job. My job is to show you how I did it, good or bad, my failures as well as my successes, and try to help you navigate how to manage the aperture that called your gates that allows those things to flow in. I think that's better than me just putting rules and regulations around saying, I'm worried about you and I don't want this bad thing to happen to you. I don't want you to commit the same crimes and same sins that I did. So I'm going to put around you padded cell. That's the wrong way. It works in a very, very short time, but it's not healthy for building a child who's self-regulating, self-governing. And so being able to teach them the tools to self-regulate
Yes.
in real time is, I think, more beneficial for the long run of their healthy development. So but the crazy thing is, like you said, Golden, I wish there was a manual for my child, and there isn't. There is, and even
I'm
if you
writing
had
it out.
one,
Release it soon.
The model, I have 4 models, and each child model the manual for each one won't work for the other one.
All different.
It's like
Wow.
one's built differently, right? So it would be useless to have one manual anyways, because it's not one size fits all. And we learned that we have to manage their gaits differently.
Yes.
And that adds a whole nother dynamic. Well, why are you letting them do that? Well, because you can't manage your gait well. He can. So he gets to do this and you don't. You know?
And I'm
And
learning
that's
to manage
hard.
my own gates at the same time. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's even
I
another.
have struggles even entering in this conversation that we started today.
I know.
My favorite media form of entertainment, audiobooks and video games. Now, I don't like
Mhm.
the battle royale stuff, the first person shooter, but story games, creative games, building games, open world games, yeah, man, love it. So I obviously have a very, very uh, uh, personally
Invested.
established, perspective on it because it's something I like. So it's hard for me to see things objectively from a position of somebody who doesn't play those things. Because I'll find myself defending those because that's what I like, and that's going to affect my kid, right? I mean, I'm still learning to manage my own gates and what that means. And what's the difference between a pixelated NPC and a real person? Well, some would
Not
argue
much,
there's
really.
none. But I think I'd feel differently if I saw someone hurt in real life versus seeing an NPC take a bullet. Maybe not. I don't know. I can't see past my own clouds. But
Well, oh, go ahead. I mean,
you
we're
know,
seeing the fact that people aren't, in real life, when somebody is getting hurt, I mean, beat up really bad, punched, whatever, people are on their phones, not helping at all.
sure.
They'd rather be recording it and getting those views so they can send it out.
Yeah. When
Right.
And,
I was a kid,
you know,
they watched in the same way. It was just they were enjoying the spectacle in the moment. They just didn't record it. So fights in high school, like the difference is nowadays I see them holding phones. I don't see a real difference
oh, I do.
between the digital and non-digital access when it regards to somebody taking a beating. They're still spectators,
And that's gonna be, yeah.
and they have a bigger audience now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the views thing, well, definitely, because see, yeah, I can't make that statement. There is a real variable of if I record this, if I spectate this, people will spectate me. And that is a whole new variable. I'm not saying nothing's changed. And yeah, and there were studies before that. You put somebody in a room and hit a button and it hurts them. How far will you go? Well, when you create that isolation, a majority of the people would go way further than you would expect.
Yeah.
So there is that. I'm not discounting that at all. But because it has a cultural impact, the views, getting views. That's been one thing that has probably been a pretty big knockdown, drag out fight between Kat and I, is wanting to put something out there for public review. Well, my friends are doing it, or they get likes and they talk about it, and I'm like, man, that's heroin. I'm not going to give you heroin right now. That would be incredibly irresponsible of me. But they see their friends aren't dying.
No.
They got views. And I recognize that I tell her something, just like when y'all tell me something. Yeah, okay, but I'll really internalize it as I experience it. Oh, this is this way. Well, I'll find out. Kids no different. But they don't have any of the life experience to say, well, hey, just find out for yourself. Sometimes you can't undo that. So it's yeah, it's complex, and I need a manual for me as much as I need a manual for her.
Let me read this. Oh, yeah. Let me read this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned more about me in the last, 13 years that I would never even have imagined
Oh,
is as something even to take in, and then I got to pass that on to her in real time. Um, yeah, these are complex things, and I don't want victim language to come into. I refuse to be a victim of the media storm around me either.
Right.
right.
And how do I do that? Like Google. We talked about that this morning. I don't know where I'm going with this, but uh, you know, Google wants to invade quite a
Yep.
bit of your life and control quite a bit. I'm like, all right, I can set boundaries though, and also maybe I look at it as a disguise. It's my disguise. Yeah, I got a Google account. Yeah, talk about bake sales and you know stuff. Don't look here, and be aware. Hey, context matters. Don't walk in any room in the convention and think you can just talk about your day. Oh, no, that stays face to face. Or I choose the arena to share that portion of me and not share indiscriminately because that's foolish. The digital realm adds complexity on complexity on complexity with that, but it's the same thing. Don't walk into a group of people. Don't just share yourself indiscriminately with anyone you come across. Not out of fear that I would hold back, but out of wisdom and prudence. Don't be foolish. Don't unload on that. And we have choice. So whatever I'm presented with, yeah, my eyes receive that data indiscriminately, but I have control on how I see that and how I internalize it. Don't I? Do I? I don't know.
I think this is a good question for we take things so much at face value a lot of times. And I would equate that to the body, just the consciousness.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily most people don't understand the subconscious,
Correct.
that
Yeah.
what's really going on, and how frequencies and all these 5Gs and is affecting our bodies, whether we are aware of it or not. And so I think it's really self-awareness is huge, and how we regulate ourselves. Um, that's internally, that's something that's the journey that I think we've been on for a couple years now, is how do we live our lives in a way, spirit, soul, and body, physical, subconscious, conscious, unconsciously. How do we do that in a way that, as a son living above the sun, how do we go about doing that? And we don't have all the answers.
No.
That's why it's so important that we have groups like these and discussions like these, because we are in the discovery phase in a lot of this. And a lot of us, we feel like we've been bamboozled, especially in the nutritional part and the food part, and because the agenda has been going for so long that it's almost like they want to tire you out enough to where you'll eventually just give in and not, oh, this is just life. This is just, and so then it becomes the new norm.
Mhm.
And that's where we're at right now. We're in one of those thresholds of, the new norm. And so do we want to be in that new norm? Do we want to be pioneers in how to live and breathe and have our beings in Yeshua in that new norm? And what does that look like? Um, and I mean, I don't have the answers. I'm just saying, those are questions that we're discovering within, our communities. How do we live our lives in a way that we are able to be successful and continue on, and really maybe look back and be spokesperson, be the gatekeepers in our own communities, where these other modalities and stuff have been the gatekeepers. We've kind of just given up our seats when
Right.
we should be the
Well,
ones at these gates, and we've negated that, and so it's really our responsible, I think, to get back to who we are, and really just sit at the gates. We got to do it personally ourselves. That's the main thing, is personally we got to get there ourselves. But we don't do it if you're trying to do it alone and a lone ranger. I don't think you may make it for a while, but it's gonna be really hard. So group
yeah.
being with others is
Well,
where it's
by
at.
definition, I can't see the blind spots I have today. I'm not saying I won't, but right now, blind spots that I don't see, I don't
Yeah,
see. I may see them tomorrow. Yeshua may reveal them to me. The Spirit may reveal them to me. I'm not saying that that can't happen, but in
right.
community, you guys can be like, dude, that's a blind spot. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know, because I know that I will have a propensity to rationalize the things I enjoy.
We all
I
do.
will. If he says, "Hey, that's dangerous," I'm like, "Well, I really like that. What do you mean it's dangerous? What do you mean it's affecting me?" And the effect is not necessarily immediately apparent. Obviously, I know a knife will cut me. It's 1-to-1. It's right there. Boop. Oh, hey, don't do that. Real simple, right? Self-protection kicks in. I'm not gonna do that. But when the effects aren't immediate, it's
Right.
really
That's the
hard.
thing. That's the thing. Yep.
And the kids too, especially, I think even more so. Like I don't see that effect. I don't feel it. What do you mean? And the most everything we've talked about today doesn't have an obvious immediate effect. It has to be like you talking about that imagination. I have to imagine the potential ramifications for my actions today and make decisions based on that imagination.
Right.
I don't want that.
Well, this is so important. I mean, in this context of why a relationship with our creator is necessary.
Yeah.
Like not just to know that he's there
Yeah.
and give him kudos for creating you and keeping you alive, but having an actual like living, breathing conversation on a regular basis, daily basis, intimate connection with him. Because when you spend time with him, you build this internal um, Geiger counter. Geiger counter is, for those who don't know, reads the level of radiation and in the air and the surrounding atmosphere. If you don't have the Geiger counter called the relationship with your father, how are you going to know what's poisoning you over time? Because radioactivity doesn't kill you immediately. It's poisoning your body, killing off your body cells slowly until you start to have symptoms down the road. A lot of stuff around us is radioactive to our soul, but we don't know it immediately. And until you have developed a relationship of sensitivity, that canary in the coal mine relationship, where you're spending so much time with your father that you feel and you sense and you think like he does, the sensitivity level of your ability to read the atmosphere is so much stronger, in the millionths part, level, where you step in the atmosphere and this is going to kill me. I'm not going to die right now, fall down dead, but if I give into this long enough, it's going to kill me, and so I'm going to back out. Right? That comes from building that relationship with the father, where when you know where this is not healthy,
Yeah.
and I'm going to back out of it. I'm not going to participate in it. That's what we're trying to build with our sons. Build your relationship with your father, get that Geiger counter established, so that when you step into circumstances, right away, oh, the air is poisoned, the water is poisoned. Don't participate in this, and that's important. And you can't get that from just reading scripture and just memorizing passages and getting the information in your system and saying, okay, here's the protocols, and apply this. Because a lot of things that you think you're going to find an answer in the scripture there is going to be applicable to every circumstance. It's not written out that way. It's written out in a way that says get a relationship, get the internal measure in you,
Yep.
you know, and then by that you can measure every circumstance. That's the only way to I think be successful in not dying on this earth, because there's so much radioactivity in the air that is going to corrupt your soul. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to have something that will protect you, lead you on that path of righteousness, lead you on that path of living forever, in a sense. And
Mhm.
that is the guidance of your relationship with him, your experience, and that over time developing sensitivity to say, whoa, you look like you're bright and shining and good for me, but I know of what nature you are because my alerts are going off internally. My measurements, the dial is pegging, man, at 11, and there's some bad stuff going on. No one else can see it, but I know, and I know that this is not healthy, right? That's the father relationship, the creator intimate relationship you have to grow that sensitivity. And we're doing it ourselves. And then when we raise children, we've got to teach them how to build that themselves so they don't go careening off a cliff because they don't know where the boundaries are. They don't, hey, this off ramp's not a good idea. You know, oh,
Yeah.
we're going. It's a fun drive, you know.
And it's a very clear cultural lean or move to trust an outside authority with that and to disregard to the point where they don't even talk about it. There's no internal government. There's only the external. You trust this source. It's all external, all external. In fact, I just saw the other day, there was a commenter on one of the big, mainstream media things. They could not fathom that Christians believe their liberties or rights, or I don't remember what the word was, but it was like your internal compass comes from God. Like they were just like, what? That makes no sense. Like that is a very, I think that's a really very real perspective that is being shared by the majority of the culture we're in. Is that, like it or love it, red or blue, that's where your stuff comes from. The authority figures that we've elected, well, if you believe in elections, that have been put in office over you. And science. Nothing wrong with science. We love science, but science is made by people. Yeah, so it's not just whitewashed. Yeah. You want to trust the science. Which science? Well, trust the people. Replace that science with people. Trust the people. What people? That matters, but it doesn't seem to in our culture. There's a real lean towards the only solution is the authority figures that are placed over us, the authority outside of us. That is the only solution people even discuss anymore. There is no internal
Right.
authority
By
that
design,
is
right?
recognized
By
culturally.
design, which is why it was written on a piece of paper with pen in our foundational documents as a nation. Inalienable rights provided by our creator,
Right,
not by you guys sitting in Washington, D.C.
right.
And we hold on to that, right? That's the part that I think many in the hold the reins of government and media would like to go and erase if they could.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's being erased simply by ignoring it, and
Right.
that's the result of a culture that no longer even has a place to care for religion. Religion is just another political party.
Right.
It's
Right.
not. It's not even lauded as something that's positive. It's just another political party. At least that's what I'm seeing. And it's part of that. So we have to resist that. And
Yeah.
and that's how do you do that without joining the religious political party? Well, it's you and God first, you and Yahweh first, you and that relationship first, and it spreads out from there. And then
And that's the difference between being a child and growing up, because a child doesn't really want to, they faint, or they pretend they want the responsibility of being an adult. They like the privileges, right? Someone who's a junior high age, adolescent age, the real definition is moron is someone in the junior high 6 or 7. So when you call someone a moron, that's what you're putting them in that age bracket, right? So a real moronic attitude is, I want to be an adult, but I don't want to give up my childish things. I want to be able to choose, pick and choose when I can be a child and when I can be an adult. And
Yeah.
that's it's a hard process transition for the child, as well as the parent, as well as the teacher that taught them. and that is part of, there's a lot of children running around in adult suits who would rather just be children and allow somebody to do all the adulting part. I don't want to adult. I just want to eat, play, and have fun. And the government's like, okay, you just need to sign off here, here, and here, and here, and we'll be your God and we'll manage you. It's fine. And that's and as long as that's in their culture, I mean, those are the weak links to casting off, an oppressive government, casting off tyranny. As long as they're there and they allow for that to perpetuate itself, that's going to be the challenge. We talk about being woke or woken up or awakened or whatever terminology that you want to use, but there are those who would rather just pull the blanket back over and continue as is, and not concern themselves with who is pulling the strings. As long as they got theirs and they're feeling good, and they've got a false sense of security, they're good to go. And it's really kind of a sad state to live in, because it really is no freedom at all. But again, we talked about earlier, the dumbing down, media programming, dumbing down, they don't even consider. And they stay children in their minds. They don't walk into adulthood in their being.
Right.
Thank goodness that that's not the case, that we haven't fully succumbed to that as a people in this country. There are many who would refuse that unto death, and that's a good thing, because we need to have that freedom. And really, it doesn't matter political lines, religious lines. There are people of both walks and colors that all walks and colors that are in either group. Oh, rather be a child in an adult body. No, I want to be fully through and through mature. I want to grow up. Right. So it's not political, it's not religious, it's a human nature thing. And it's up to everybody, right?
Yeah.
To some degree, you can wake up yourself, make your choices, but we are isolated islands. We live in a relationship with people, and we have to work with those who would choose not to wake up. And God loves them too. Father absolutely loves them. And even though they have dirty diapers, he still loves them. And thank goodness that I don't have to change their diapers. Like, someone else can do that.
Exactly.
Occasionally a dirty diaper comes my way, and I just have to long suffer through it. Dear God, help me with this child of yours. Help me to love Heavenly Father too. They're still going to go about their way, doing what they do. But that's obviously not the attitude of our culture, right? Of our ATS culture, And I'm thankful for all of you guys that you don't desire to stay immature. Waking up to truth. And we know, right? Walking into maturity, even though that's hard, doing the hard job, the rewards are totally worth it. Doing the hard thing has rewards that you can explain it all day long, but you won't really know it until you actually step into it.
Yeah.
So I tell my kids, hey guys, I know you think this is hard work and it's hard. It's something you don't want to do. And you don't understand the dividends that are going to be paid back to you by doing the hard thing. you can't see it from this side. But when you get to their side, and I can explain it all day long, but you won't really understand it till you're actually standing on my side. You're just gonna have to trust me. You're gonna have to take the faith walk through the hard stuff and realize, wow, so glad that I did it, Dad. Thanks for encouraging me. Thanks for pushing me on. Because standing from here, it's so worth what I did. And that's the kind of relationship I want to have with my kids. I don't want to beat them down with regulations and hem them in such a way that they're bucking against it so much. I want to walk them through it in relationship, because if I push too hard and they see that as just this taskmaster and rule maker, they're going to push against it and choose against that, and they'll never be able to grow into the maturity. They'll rebel and become kids in adult suits. And I'd rather just walk with them in a relationship so that they can, keep a healthy relationship of trusting Dad, revealing myself in mistakes, but yet, hey, it's worth it. It really is. That I think is really, and we do that with relationships with other people. If we have good, healthy relationship, we can lead them into maturity by encouraging them into doing the hard thing again and again and again. This is what I think of long suffering with somebody. This is the long suffering side of love. It's realizing you really don't want to, you don't know it, but you really don't want to be where you're at. You may not really have the understanding. You don't know why you do what you do. I do, but I'm going to stick it through with you because I know you don't really want to stay here. And during the years of hardship, to bring them out of their child behaviors, child thinking, and coming into that adult thinking of maturity, because the rewards are worth it.
Yeah. Jackie on Facebook, I like this example actually. She said, have you ever seen those sprinters that race with a guide? So they are one of them is blind, the other one is obviously full nose, sees the track, sees everything, and they actually, I think they hold on to each other or something, or they're okay. Their arms are together and they run the race together. And a lot of that, it's all about trust, and it's all about eyes to see. And this one here is just going, all right, I'm trusting you along this way. We got 3 laps to go. We can do it. All right, 2 laps to go. You're doing great. But the thing is, they still got to run together. Well, so somebody might be trying to speed ahead and the other one's going, I can't do it. So it's all about teamwork, trust, and we're gonna get to the finish line. And that was a great example, Jackie. I love that. Love it. So yeah.
So good. We got 5 minutes, Chris. You want to wrap it up? You haven't said much this time around.
Yeah, no, you guys were great. It was just made me think about a lot of things and what it was like. My oldest will be 40, my youngest is 27, and what it was like. And one of the things I noticed is, the last couple of generations, Noodle said it earlier. He just said, I wish he had a manual on how to raise kids. And you don't. You just you love them. You're supposed to have a good marriage. Mama stays home and loves, and, Dad gets out of there and swings at it and hunts, right? And then all that went away. And when the family went away and 2 people had to work, because I recognized that in the 80s, that we were at a place we could not afford what kids are saying they can't afford today. The same conversation, but it's different today. It's different for kids today than it was. There was still left a residual innocence. And then the last couple of generations have birthed nothing but stupidity. So you have parents that have no business being parents. because they're just like, because they're parents. And so now you've got generations of kids are dumbed down because their parents are dumbed down. Sometimes their grandparents are dumbed down.
Yeah.
And then, spiritually, you then things are being done to them intentionally. All of us intentionally. And you're like, it's freaking amazing that we're all waking up to have this freaking conversation. So the good news is, because I'm the oldest one in the group, and I can tell you that soon to be 64 years of age, if anybody thinks that they're missing it and have missed it, I am living, recognizing today that I am living my highest and best self in Yahweh and experiencing in and around my life. That doesn't mean I don't get triggered. It doesn't mean I don't have issues and stuff like that, but it is all you need is him. So like when you have to reverse engineer it, you've really got to decide, your perspective, there's always a higher and best you. Even from Boston Sea, there's higher and best. But I have been pursuing the highest and best I know to be without being judgmental or feeling religious like we have to perform. So when people, and there are those that choose, kids, parents, I don't want to be my highest and best. I just want to play video games, and that's okay. That's okay. Does Yahweh love you any less because you don't want to be your highest and best self in him? Do you think Yahweh's going to abandon you?
Right.
Hell no. But you're just going to come into the kingdom kicking and screaming, you donkey, because you want to be a doer of your own thing. And the choice is because you're lazy. You're intellectually lazy. You won't challenge yourself. You're a victim. When we live that's below the sun. So I think the thing I'm realizing is we've been at this for a while. We are above the sun. There are fringe benefits to living above the sun and pursuing
Absolutely.
your highest and best below the sun. And until people start modeling it on a regular basis, and I'm not saying I'm doing it perfect, because I'm just thinking that, you know what, I'm still freaking growing and changing, but my personality is still freaking intact. I'm not some religious thing that I got to say, you know what, and everybody will tell you that. You know what, my kids will tell you, my dad's been doing this. He's been like this his whole freaking life. He changes. He may change his mind on a dime and go down the side road. You're damn right. Okay? Because you make your own decisions. You're an independent thinker. You take responsibility, but you tether into big love. I go back to big love. The planet has a love problem. We all have a love problem. If you can't hug and kiss anybody without flinching, as the other person doesn't want to hug and kiss you, you need to get out there and practice hugging people, loving on people, doing it. I just awkward. I'm just, we're introverts, and okay, I get all that. But big love is like, there's a highest and best. Don't worry. If you pursue big love, your personality is going to stay intact. If you're an introvert, that's okay. It's okay. He loves on you where you're at. So, it breaks my heart to kind of just see, but I'm getting beyond being pissed about all the stuff that goes on every day. Even the way I'm tweeting or Xing, whatever that looks like, it is because I'm in a zone. And this is just, and again, this has all been a journey. And I know 5 minutes, 2 minutes, one more second I'll leave you with this. Fasting is maybe doing more of something or less of something. Fasting oftentimes gets associated with food. Well, Boston Sea, you've been fasting and food and intimate. Okay, food. So that was just one expression. That's my journey. I just wanted to break the addiction of food, which it's interesting. I've broken it. But when you eat, man, your body remembers and it wants to binge. It's a different deal. I'm like, God, great day in the morning, man. This is interesting. But I think fasting if you're watching Netflix 5 days a week, fast from Netflix. Fast. If you can't go from 5 down to 2, okay, there's an opportunity. Or Papa will love you watching Netflix 5 days a week, and he'll speak to you all the movies that you watch over and over and over again. I mean, it's just a different deal. It's just a different way of living. But I can tell you that Yahweh is the real deal. He's here. He's everywhere. Our words are, he is breath. Our breath, when we exhale, inhalation and exhalation, it's the opportunity to exhale what's not of him and to inhale Yahweh in and out all day long, and being conscious of your breathing. So I would leave you with all that, and it's all good. We're not leaving any of us behind unless people say, hey, you guys got to go, man. I love being part of this tribe, but man, I'm just choosing. I'm going to sit here by the sidewalk, and I'm probably going to get there before if you guys go, but I can't go. Okay, well, we're going to keep going. But if you change your mind, you just turn around, you know where we're at. And that's it. And we're not going to change anybody. The only thing we can change is our relationship with Big Love. That's it. That's all we're supposed to do.
Yep.
That's it. And operate in that divine realm with Big Love. And he wants everybody on this call to partner with Big Love, because he's using us as vessels to redeem humanity. Chew on that.
Yeah.
If that doesn't want to motivate you to pursue your highest and best self, so you can walk into a room and the atmosphere and people start dropping and getting healed and all kinds of stuff, and you have the humility because you've been walking in it for a while, and you can handle this deal, and we're ready for it. We're all ready for it. So it's coming. Ready or not.
That's right, man. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, guys. I love you all soon.
Okay.
I gotta get
Love
out
you.
of here, do some gardening and stuff. So love you all
Shalom.
soon. Love,
Next week.
love,
Later, man.
guys. Keep loving big.
Love, love, love.
Love, love, love.